my thing, what I teach in my workshops, right, is who are you? What are you talking about, and what have you got to offer?
Yeah.
Forget about making music. Forget that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because at this moment in time, it's pretty pointless. You know, you got to look at yourself like a business.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line, right? You're in a business to make money, to sell a product, and to be creative, you know, and to have some fun.
Yeah.
Right? And travel the world maybe as well, right? Let's throw that in there. So how do you do that? Do you know what I mean? What are you offering? Do you know what I mean? So if you can't answer those 5 basic questions, then why are you doing it? It's very simple.
Yeah.
Unless you can really get down to the why, because the how and the what are kind of like, you know, how is basics. This is how.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go to college, learn. That's how. But why? You know what I mean? Why are you going to do it? What have you got that the world needs to hear? And why? And what's going to make people invest in you? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Think about it. Why is someone going to spend their hard-earned cash at the end of the week on your music?
So do you think that's a problem? Because I know, like with Rebel Instinct and stuff, you're not just covering music. You're looking at some other areas of art as well. Do you think that's like do you think that is a problem in how people are going about creating at the moment?
Well, at the moment I think there is a lack of creativity. I think the playing field's been levelled, and it's bred a lot of mediocrity. It's bred a lot of people who've just got into music because they can, or in most endeavours because they can, but they don't really know why they want to do it. They just want to do it, and they just want to make music. They would and it's like, well, there's nothing wrong with that. Do you know what I'm saying? But we can't all complain that the music business is rubbish and where no one's getting any sales and everyone's ripping off music. It's like, figure out what you want to do. Do you know what I mean? You want to make sure that people can have access to all the equipment, but then you want to like lower the playing field and have like things like X Factors on, and then you want to celebrate mediocrity by making them stars.
Yeah.
And then you want to complain that the sales ain't any good. It's like, make up your mind, which one do you want to do? Do you know what I'm saying? You can do all of them, but you're missing an important factor there. Do you know what I'm saying? In the 60s and in the 70s, you know what I mean? Music was about something. Do you know what I'm saying? It was about people standing up for something, and an artist had a social responsibility to come out and speak for their community. You know, that's been lost. You know, we've substituted that when we're celebrating the youth culture now. Do you know what I mean? And we've swapped youth culture for experience. Do you know what I'm saying? So now we don't listen to people who've got experience. We shelve them. Do you know what I'm saying? Sorry. So we shelve them. We shelve them, and we don't respect them anymore. And we listen to and we focus on the youth. And we just, you know, and there's no real differentiating factor between the youth because they're pretty interchangeable. And so there's an endless conveyor of them. And so when we burn one out, there's another one to take his place. And we burn him out, and there's another one to take his place. So every 2 or 3 years, we have this high turnover of young people that just come in, are vacuumous, and they've got no experience, so they're not talking about anything. And they only appeal to like 30% of the population. But the 70% actually want to do something and they're interested in something, aren't being marketed to, and they don't know where to find each other.
Yeah. I mean, do you potentially think then that now no one's really buying music because you can download it free, and therefore it's kind of, there's less money to be made out of music apart from performing live, which is obviously harder work really than going into a studio day after day. Do you think maybe that will raise the quality level of music because there won't be as much money out there? You won't get people just in it for a fast buck. There'll be people who are in it for the love. Yeah,
well, you'll definitely change the dynamics because you'll have to have something that's going to differentiate yourself from everybody else. And good music always rises to the top, no matter what. You know, and the basics of it are very simple. Do you know what I mean? It's like if I go to a shop and I listen to 10 tunes and only one's really outstanding, that's the one I'm going to buy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And that's the people I'm going to start looking for. And so it is very simple. Do you know what I mean? Unless you start to do something exceptional, something great, something really outstanding, no one's going to care about you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And that's the bottom line. So that is the defining factor with the level playing field. It's okay for everybody to have equipment. It's okay for everybody to be involved in music, but you have to now be exceptional. That's how you're going to get noticed. You can't just be mediocre. Before, in a way, there was only a few people that knew how to work the studio. So anybody could like be almost good or great, because there was like out of 100 people, only 2 people might know how to use a computer, might know how to program, might know how to use a sampler, and you had to go to them to make music, or you didn't make music. You know what I mean? You just a fan and just really loved it. Now everybody can make music. Now everybody's a DJ. Now everybody's got the ability. So you need to figure out what it is that you do that other people need to buy into, that's going to make you stand out from them.
Okay. I mean, would you say this is something that you've sort of learned over your... I mean, because is it sort of 20 years you've been in the business now?
Yeah.
Would you say this is something you've learned over time, or is this the kind of attitude you've always had?
It was... I would say that I come from a very different background from day dot, and we had a very unique culture in my house, and that led to us just really trying to do something different from day dot anyway. You know, not trying to be like radically different, but just trying to understand what our roots were in music and where we were coming from, and that just led to us having a different perspective on anything anyway. You know, we always saw things very differently. You know, and especially from that Bristol mentality as well. It was about combining loads of different elements of music to try and to create something else, and that's where that whole trip hop thing came from. That's when for us anyway, we started to make jungle from that point of view. And so, from my point of view, I was always about, you know, I was never afraid to be myself. Do you know what I mean? I found comfort in that. I hated, you know, I was original B-boy, so the whole B-boy thing was, if someone's got the same trainers as you, you need to get another one. Do you know what I'm saying? If someone could do a breakdance move better than you, you need to do a better one. So it's that whole thing, and so it's the same thing scratching. No one could have the same records as you. And so it was that bred that whole thing about taking it to the next level. Do you know, in Full Cycle we were highly competitive with each other, but that just meant that, you know, we were pushing each other to the next level constantly. You know, we always learning new techniques in the studio about how to do this with a sampler or how to do that with a keyboard, and we were constantly like this little hive. Like, you know, we'd be up all night trying to figure out this new thing so you could bust a new move on Ronnie or on Die, and then on me and stuff, and on Sub, and so we were very, very like competitive with each other, but that just made us like good at what we were doing. Do you know what I'm saying? We were never satisfied with what we had. Do you know what I'm saying? And if we did something and we learned it, we wanted to do another thing, and that just led us on to doing something else. And you know, we never copied each other. Whenever someone did something, it inspired someone to do something better or try and push ourselves further. And so that's always been in my mind. You know, so when I'm doing whatever I'm doing, I always look at the landscape. I look out and I, you know, put my head above the parapet and I look out and I see what everyone else is doing. And I try and get a good idea of the culture, of the sound, of the movement, and I say, right, this is how I'm going to contribute to it. This is my thing on it. And whenever I hear a great tune or I see something good out there, I think, wow, that's great. You know, how can I contribute to that, to the movement or to the culture, to really to add on to it. You know, my thing is add on to it. You know, really try and add on to something to make the whole thing better.
Yeah, because you were talking about your sort of competitive element with the rest of Full Cycle, and people say it's impossible to create in a vacuum. So would you say that for someone trying to create art or be creative in anything, it's important to find sort of a community or a group that they can work with?
Definitely that, or a nemesis.
Yeah.
You need energy. You need energy. You need friction.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Everything's created by friction. You know, yin and yang, positive and negative. You need to rub against something. You need it. You know what I mean? You need to have someone to point. You know what I mean? You need a target. You need something to aim for. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So even if you find someone and say, well, and if you in your own mind think they're doing it badly, I need to do what they're trying to do but better. Yeah,
simple thing like that. You don't need to tell anyone. It's a simple thing. You need to compete with yourself. Do you know what I mean? You need to say, right, last year I did this, next year I'm going to do that, and you cannot be satisfied with what you do. You know, even though people think, you know, Full Cycle was great, I think I don't even think we've really even reached up half of our potential yet. You know, and I'm like, right, let's go further, let's do more, let's go bigger, let's go better, let's make a band now, let's start a movement now. You know, let's get this whole thing, take it to the next level now.
Do you have this in your head, like over a long period of time? Do you see the future for 5-10 years, or does
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm very.
You know where you want. You know where you want to go.
Yeah. I mean, especially in the last sort of 7-8 years, I've really started to think. Before, I mean, from I started getting involved in music when I was 14. But up to from 14 to 19, we started various businesses. Fresh 4, number 10 in the charts. We started a cycle courier business after that, me and my brother, and then we did Full Cycle, and we did Represent, and we did various other projects in there, and it's been a constant going forward. And then I've moved to London. For me, I wanted to do other things, and it didn't really fit in what Full Cycle was doing. And so for me, it was just time to go and do it by myself. And so at that point, that's when I started to really think about what the potential is of what I could do. How do I learn this stuff? What do I need to do to go to the next level?
Yeah.
Up until then, it was just pure energy, youthful energy, making music, being creative, and then it was like, right, I need to know how to do this thing, not properly, but in a more effective, constructive, consistent way. So I started studying, the books, started studying business books, spiritual books, consciousness, started studying like successful entrepreneurs, successful people in the business, started studying music. It's like going back to school, and I've been there ever since. And so now I'm like, okay, what's going to happen in the next 10 years? What's the best of what we've just done that I can do again, but really do in a more constructive way? And so that's the idea now. It's like I've projected like for the next 10 years, it's going to be about Rebel Instinct, about producing bands, producing artists, producing creative people, and then building an education system on the side of that, so we can start teaching people. Then they can come into the company, or they can go further afield. Okay,
excellent. Because I have obviously I've heard some interviews and read some stuff about Rebel Instinct, but what is the vision for Rebel Instinct? What is Rebel Instinct?
Rebel Instinct is essentially a movement, of creative people, and it's like the archaic revival. We're taking the best of what happened, and we're going to use that as the impetus to go forward. We've gone, we as human beings, we're fascinated with new technology, with new ideas, and what we tend to do, or most of us anyway, we tend to just surpass and overlook what we've done in favour of new, without actually really getting the most out of what we've just done. And I think we've done that with, I'm certainly guilty of myself, going through technology, seeing a computer, oh great, fantastic, da-da-da-da-da. But the thing about that is, there was nothing wrong with the method of way we were making music. There was nothing wrong with that, and there was nothing wrong with a lot of those things at that period in time as well. It's just that something bigger and brighter came along, and we just got fascinated by the shine of it, by the gleam of it. And so Rebel Instinct is really about just collecting the best of that, figuring out a way to educate and learn ourselves, and then build a hub so that people could come in and feel comfortable doing creative projects around people that want to do those creative projects, and then making sure that we understand why we're doing it, and make sure there's a social aspect about it, making sure that there's some training that we can all get and help develop and build and grow, and something that's sustainable, something that's going to outlast me, and something that people can, it's like a flag. This is what we're doing. This is what we're going to be doing. We represent this. This is our contribution to society. This is our contribution to, social entrepreneurship. Do you know what I mean? And so, the vision is to just to lead by example, to make some really good music, to do quality projects. And not trying to just blast out, loads of mediocre, uninteresting things, and just to do stuff that is interesting, whether it is a book, whether it is a piece of music, a documentary, a book about poems, a film about, someone travelling around the world, stuff that people find interesting, that we can draw meaning out of it.